Hello, this is the 244th edition of Catch of the Day, available on the Branch Talk YouTube channel. Today we're going to continue reading from a book written by Doug Mitchell, entitled The Four Carpenters, the Ensign, the Time of Jacob's Trouble, and the First Deliverance. Starting near the top of page 99, we read, "But in Judah there dwelt some who maintained their allegiance to Jehovah, steadfastly refusing to be led into idolatry. It was to these that Isaiah and Micah and their associates looked in hope as they surveyed the ruin wrought during the last years of Ahaz. Their sanctuary was closed, but the faithful ones were assured, God is with us. Sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary." Isaiah 8, verse 10, 13, 14. Prophets and Kings 3:27 to 3:30. Satan will work his miracles to deceive. He will set up his power as supreme. The church may appear as about to fall, but it does not fall. It remains, while the sinners in Zion will be sifted out, the chaff separated from the precious wheat. This is a terrible ordeal, but nevertheless it must take place. None but those who have been overcoming by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony will be found with the loyal and true, without spot or stain of sin, without guile in their mouths. We must be divested of our self-righteousness and arrayed in the righteousness of Christ. 12 MR 324, 325. Though it is an inexpressible sad thing that through internal troubles it appears that the Church of God, or God's church, must cause itself to come crashing down to the ground, yet as long as this must be, and as long as God says, "O great mountain, thou shalt become a plain," we too do rejoice at the prospect of things soon coming to a head, when out of the ruins he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, "Grace, grace unto it." Zechariah 4, verse 7. 1. Symbolical Code 8.4. While we have touched on the confederacy of Christian nations during the Assyrian period, while Babylon is sitting on the heads, which brings the local Sunday laws during that period, there are actually two confederacies. The second one is the confederacy between Israel and Syria against Judah. In Isaiah chapter 7, and Malher-Shalahazbaz mentioned in those chapters are both types of symbols of groups of and entities that were to come on the scene in latter times. While he applied those types to the birth and development of Christendom and the church-state alliance of the Middle Ages, Brother Roden made a more specific latter-day application of the types, including also the type of the Virgin who gave birth to Emmanuel. As he addresses the matter in depth in a number of studies, which we will give reference to later, we will only note his application of the types herein, and summarize how the confederacy spoken of in those chapters directly relates to the actions of the drunkards of Ephraim we spoke of previously, and some related incidents. We are doing this because these things take place during the Assyria period and the time of Jacob's trouble. Israel, Samaria, 10 tribes, SDA. 2. Syria, USA, in its local jurisdiction. 3. Judah, DSDA, 2 tribes. The branch is the DSDA with its name changed. 4. Assyria, U.S., England, and allies in their international jurisdiction. 5. Emmanuel, the branch, Christ in a message. 6. The Virgin who gave birth to Emmanuel, DSDA before 1955. 7. Mal-Her Shalahasbaz, Davidians after 1955, born to the prophetess Florence Houteff. Israel, the drunkards of Ephraim, is confederated with the U.S., a local power against Judah, the rod and the branch, by using the arm of civil law to suppress the investigation of the messages they have made lies their refuge. The fullness of this confederacy is yet to be seen, but according to the type and the prophecy before, the Israel-Syria confederacy was able to fully come against Judah, they were both defeated and assimilated by Assyria. This was to occur before Emmanuel was mature enough to refuse the evil and choose the good. Isaiah 7 verse 16. In defeating the Israel-Syria confederacy, Assyria takes away the spoils of both of them, and they are forsaken of both their kings. Type will meet antitype. Brother Roden showed that the taking away of the spoils of Syria, USA, local, by Assyria, the international alliance, which includes the U.S., in its international jurisdiction, would automatically spoil SDA because they are so tied up with the U.S. economy and banking system. He pointed to Ellen White's statement, "This nation will yet be humbled into the dust." 1 T 260. The context of that statement involves the divided state of America during the Civil War and England's watching for an opportunity to take advantage of that situation to take back control of America through a possible war. She mentions that England would not be in the best position if she were to open war upon America at that time because she was weak elsewhere in the world and many in her empire could use the situation to break away from her. So, if England is still yet to humble America in the dust, it must come from a means other than war, economics. What makes it possible for Assyria, the international alliance of USA, England and allies, to spoil antitypical Syria, USA, a local power, is that the international alliance has control of America's monetary system, and thus its economy, through the Federal Reserve, a private consortium of banks, many of which are at the foundation of England's economy. Concerning the spoils of Syria and Israel, Brother Roden in 1959 said, "To take the riches away from the U.S. certainly would spoil SDA. Just how this can come about, we do not have the slightest idea. Here is an economic situation we are unable to explain at the present time. The fall of Assyria and the liberation of the saints. 1." Take care.